Okay, wow. We're in fasting. It's easy though. We take it step by step. And this is the Victory Team. I'm Teacher Paul. Again, we're filming from Vietnam. I had presented this before while I was in the States at our sponsor's church at Calvary Heights Baptist Church. And I had a couple of people, 2 or 3 ladies, come up to me afterward and said, I'm doing that. I'm fasting. They were intermittent fasting for their health. One lady said, I've been doing it for a year. I've lost 70 pounds. 70 pounds. How good is that? I mean, I don't know if you'll have those results, but you know what was really good? I thought, this lady, she's taking control of her health. She's doing it herself. She's not just relying on some pill that was prescribed. She's taking control. So our topics are really prayer and fasting. But we can't help but to address the health part of it. And we did in the last episode, health, and I want to finish that up. But it's hard to separate your physical from your spiritual man. We will when we die. The spirit leaves the body and we're separated. And your body, frankly, doesn't care about its health because your body knows it's not going with you to heaven. The body goes back to worms, your old man, if you will. But it's the temple of God. God resides within. We should do our best to take care of it. That may include some specific types of fasting. But let's take our Bibles to Philippians chapter 3. Philippians chapter 3. Paul is writing, and now he says something it's tough to say, but he gives a warning. Philippians chapter 3, verse 17. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so as ye have us for an ensample. It's interesting, he uses ensample, not example. When it's us, personal, it's ensample. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping. So sad. That they are the enemies of the cross of Christ. They used to walk with us, but now they're actually enemies. This is what happened. Whose end is destruction. Whose God is their belly. Oh, who is your God? When you start to fast, you find out what kind of a spiritual giant you are. If you're a giant only in flesh, or a giant with God. Is the physical man in control? Do you mind only earthly things? Your belly? Fasting is warfare. Who is in control of you? The spiritual side or the physical side? If you have, if you're a little overweight, I think most of us would say, yeah, I could lose a few pounds. I'm one of them. If you have diabetes, type 2 is much more popular. If you have heart disease, trouble with your teeth and gums and digestion, you might want to consider fasting, doing a reset. If you have mood swings, or your child has mood swings, you may want to consider fasting, right? Do you think, can I ask you, my friends, do you think certain foods affect your child's behavior? You know, you're going to get your child all sugared up and then hand them to somebody else to daycare, the Sunday school teacher or something. It's like, oh, don't do that. Your child's they're moody, they're up and down. Well, look at what you're eating. Look at what you're feeding them. Sugar on top of sugar. What are the first thing they wake up in the morning? They have a bowl of sugar, and so on. Do you think it affects your mood and behavior? If it affects a child, does it affect you? Most of us are addicted to sugar, and it shows up now many in youth, but type 2 diabetes is 20 times more common than type 1 diabetes. Type 1 is there's a lack of insulin. You're not producing any. You need some. Type 2 is just the opposite. You've been eating so much, so often, so many snacks and so on. You have insulin resistance in your cells. Your cells don't want to see insulin again. Insulin takes the carbohydrate, the glucose that you've eaten, the starch is broken down into glucose, and it takes that glucose to the cell wall and knocks on the door and say, hey, I got some sugar for you, some fuel for your little engine there. And after a while, the cell will say, oh, not again. Our tank is full. Go away, insulin. And so your insulin doesn't know what to do, so it travels around with that sugar. It didn't deposit it. It'll store it in fat, but it'll plug up the little membranes of your kidney and your eyes and your so on, and pretty soon you have diabetes, and that's a problem, type 2 diabetes. What the world does is they subscribe or prescribe more insulin, maybe synthetic insulin like metformin, so you have more of it. So that way, when it goes to the cell wall and say, "Hey, I got some glucose for you," and we're tough, we're going to kick the door down if you don't let us in. Well, that'll work for a little while. I'm making the illustration, but the cells get wise to that, and they build up resistance, and you need more insulin and more insulin. You don't need more insulin. You need no insulin. Let your cells become insulin sensitive. Don't bombard them with glucose and insulin all the time. That's what happens when you're snacking. That's what happens when you eat every 2 hours and so on, and sugars and sweets, processed foods that immediately go into your blood system. When you detach the fruit from the pulp and the bulk and the fiber away from it, oh yeah, you're right away, it tastes good, but you're shocking your system. Don't do that. Fasting greatly reduces your need to produce insulin, because no carbs are consumed. Again, if you're low sugar or you have a problem, you be careful. You keep an eye on it, but you can still participate. Just use caution. I'm speaking mostly to those on the other side that are type 2 diabetic. Fasting causes liver to release glycogen, especially when we have a fatty liver. We have fatty livers in Western societies. I was diagnosed once with fatty liver. It's not fatty anymore. I fasted here's basically, for the average person, it varies a little, but for 12 hours, your body lives on the energy of the food, the dietary carbohydrates, the glucose. But after 12 hours, if you haven't eaten and you're kind of beginning a fast, your body searches for more glucose. Hey, come on, feed me. And you'll feel hunger pain, and you say, oh, no, I'm not going to eat. So it goes to the next place, and that's your liver. And in your liver, it will release glycogen. It's like a glucose, not quite fat, but it's a glucose. And the liver has maybe 8-10 hours, depends on your exercise and so on, of glycogen stored to kind of get you over the hump. And that's actually good. Your liver is kind of cleansing itself. It's the way it could be. You're really wonderfully made. Fasting also, it allows your body to focus the energy. If you're fighting a virus, like a common cold, for example, the old adage, starve a cold, feed a fever. I think don't feed the fever. Just don't eat. When you don't feel like eating, don't. It's okay. Just because it's so 12 o'clock or 5 o'clock or whatever, because you got out of bed, doesn't mean you have to eat. It's just a habit. Let your body tell you. Extended fasting, 2, 3, 5, 10 days, may include periods of like you get little light headaches, sleepiness sometimes, maybe you just want to rest for a little bit. I found that if you take electrolytes, take the zero carb electrolytes, don't take the sugar electrolytes, but it's basically salt. But you'll get a little potassium and magnesium with it, Gatorade, without carbs. And your brain fog will dissipate. You still might be foggy. I noticed that when in the Bible, when men took long fasts, 40 days, they fasted in a desert place. They weren't driving backhoes and cranes and school buses, you know. Yeah, if you're going to take a really long fast, you might want to find a desert place and so on and so forth. Extended fasting will include, this is day 2, 3, and 4. We call it autophagy. I don't call it that, the doctors call it that. Where your body, it literally means I'm eating myself. But you'll find, and I found this to be true, when there's no more glycogen in your liver, and you're not getting any dietary carbohydrates, your body's so smart. It goes around and it looks for, is there any sources, and it finds unused proteins, the moles, and skin tags. People get these skin tags in different spots. Turkey neck, any unused skin, it's just protein. It'll use that. It'll burn it up. But don't be alarmed. If you take a urine sample during your fasting, say 3 days into a fast, I did that once. I got a call right. Yeah. Your numbers are crazy. Give your samples a day after you've broken your fast. Let your system settle down, because your body's purging itself from all kind of stuff. You know, you're sweaty, you smell bad, because your body's expelling. That's how it expels toxins. Those toxins have been sitting in fat for a long time, and now you're getting them out, finding them out. And your urine gets dark, your breath gets bad, your tongue gets coated. It's okay. It just, after a few days, it'll clear up, and you'll feel better. You've cleansed your temple, if you will. Okay, I talked about that. Here, I want you to take your Bible to Daniel chapter 1. Daniel, part of the Daniel fast is, they would still eat, but they only ate select, natural, kosher foods. You can give us pulse. Give us this vegetable soup, if you will. I don't know if it was lentil or something. But basically it's boring. Just give us pulse for 10 days and see if we don't look better. We don't want the king's dainties. We don't want to eat that junk. We don't want to defile ourselves with the American diet. We want to eat what God gave us to eat for our temple. In verse 15, Daniel chapter 1. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. All those kids were eating all that fancy junk. They didn't look too good. They looked kind of thin and pasty and fatty. Whereas these Hebrew boys they look good. They look healthy. That's where we want to be. So I think it's good. I hope fasting is good for your health. Again, don't do something stupid. Don't do crazy things. We're not going to put you on a no water 40-day fast. That's supernatural. But we're going to work our way in. You already fast when you sleep. We're going to extend it out. And you're going to be a little more conscious of the things that you eat. And you're going to cut back on those sweets and so on. In fact, I would rather have you put a knife to your throat. Don't eat them at all. Learn to be satisfied with natural, good food. And you'll start feeling better. You'll feel a change. You will. It's good for your health. You know what? It's good for us to have a sponsor. Here's our sponsor. All right. God bless you. I really hope you are healthy. I hope it's good for you. It's been good for me. I'll tell you about it sometime. God bless you. Have a great day. Have a great week. Bye-bye.